I'm sure I'll be fine from here on, as I have been before. These were the last words of Kyllikki Saari, a young Finnish girl a few moments before her death. They were spoken to her friend, Maiju, right before she rode her bike to the dark road, which would lead her home. That fateful night of May 17th, 1953, what Maiju didn't know, however, was that she would never see her friend again. Throughout the world, unsolved murder cases are not uncommon. In this Nordic country, however, crime rate is one of the lowest in the world. If you would like to know the statistics, it's the 12th lowest to be exact. And of course, it used to be even lower back in the 50s. It is then reasonable that such an awful crime would stain the hearts of the population, especially since the killer was never specified. It shows that even in the most peaceful and kind places of the world, there is always room for insanity and evil. Auli Kyllikki Saari, as was her full name, was born in Finland on December 6, 1935. Kyllikki was a normal girl, religious, social, and she also worked in the parish office of Helsinki. She lived with her parents in a countryside house outside the city near a town called Isojoki. Fast forward to Sunday, May 17, 1953. 17-year-old Kyllikki returned around noon from the church in Isojoki, looking and feeling tired. She was supposed to go there again to attend a Christian youth event in the town that evening. Her parents later reported that she was nervous about going, something unusual for her. She actually told her parents she would like to meet her friends, but was nervous about the way back. In an interview years later, ENA4, Kyllikki's father, mentioned among others, once she said that she didn't always dare to go out alone. He later regretted not paying more attention to his daughter's statement. Kyllikki ended up going to the event. She enjoyed it with her friends until its end around 10 p.m. After this, the young girl started cycling home alongside her friend Maiju. They rode together until a crossroad, where they would have to part ways. 3.3 miles, or 6 kilometers of unit. Dirt road separated Kyllikki from her home. It was at this point where she spoke her last words. She tried to sound like everything was fine, but she talked nervously. And there is a hint on why this happy and normal girl had started to be so afraid of being alone in the dark. During the winter, something happened that may have played a part on the change of her behavior. One day, Kyllikki had been skiing in the forest, when something or someone scared her so much that she went off the trail, skied too close to the house, and called her father to pick her up from there. This incident might be a lead on that someone maybe had her in their sights already, and that maybe there was more to that darkness and loneliness that had made her feel nervous that fateful night. It wasn't unusual for Kyllikki to sleep at Maiju's place, as she had been working on the city center. Her parents didn't look for her when she didn't return home that evening, or Monday morning. They became alert when they received a call from the parish office, asking them why their daughter hadn't shown up for work that day. That was very strange. Kyllikki was a punctual lady that wouldn't usually act like this, so the police were called. As it is normal with small towns, news spread fast. Some reports came early. The first from a man who reported cycling past the girl at around 10:40 in the road where she disappeared. 2 more witnesses said that they had seen signs of a struggle on the road on Monday morning, not far from where the man said he last saw Kyllikki for the last time. There were road marks from a car that had made a U-turn, as well as bicycle marks and lots of footprints and shattered glass. Many people volunteered to help with the search, but as time passed by and nothing was found, rumors started to spread. People were judging others without evidence, ruining many innocent reputations in the process, and as the press was eager to publish names of suspects without any critical thought or clues, police's work was made harder as they now had to also decipher which stories were based on truth and which were wild fantasies. The only real evidence that was found was a report about a cream-colored car with 2 men and a bicycle in it, which was never directly linked to the murder. Finally, a lead was achieved when later in July, the 22nd to be exact, the victim's bicycle was discovered by 2 berry pickers, who saw a tire sticking out of a bog some hundred of meters away from the road. They noticed that the handlebars were twisted and the tires were empty. in order to make it sink easier. The area had been searched before, but the bike simply wasn't there then. This became more evident when a closer examination showed that the saddle was in good condition, meaning that the bike hadn't spent a lot of time in the water. There were no marks on collision, and the fact that it was hidden in this place suggests that whoever hid it there knew the place well. Moreover, there was some rust on the bicycle, something that means that it was only recently thrown in the marsh, and there would be no oxygen there, so rust could spread. The investigators were at first very optimistic after this discovery. However, it took a very long time to find the victim. It was actually October 1953, almost 6 months after the incident, and the investigation would pause to a halt soon, as snow would start to fall, covering all the clues. ENA4, chief of the police, decided to make one last try in the area around the dirt road, where Kyllikki was last seen. On the 10th of October, at 9 a.m., a research mission member discovered Kyllikki's shoe, wrapped in her scarf, as well as a sock of a man. All three were tied with woolen black thread. The scarf had teeth marks on it, suggesting it was used as a gag. The very next day, October 11th, someone noticed a dry pine stick pointing out of a tussock close to the place where the shoe was found. There were no pines growing in this specific area, so it was very odd that a random stick was just placed there. He pulled out the stick and noticed it was sharp. Right away, the foul stench of decomposition invaded his nostrils. The chief of police was immediately summoned, and after some soil was removed, the rotting corpse of Kyllikki Saari was uncovered. Her head was wrapped in her own coat, and she was naked from the waist down, while her bra was misplaced. Her shallow grave was only 200 meters from the road. Her body was examined by the professor of forensic medicine, Unto Ottilia. He proclaimed that she was killed by a strike on the head by a blunt object, possibly a stick or stone. He based that assumption on the fact that her nose and cheekbones were broken. Of course, the lack of clothes suggested a sexual crime, but there was no evidence of intercourse. Due to the advanced decomposition, previous parties had been dispatched in the area. Again, the bog where the body was found was strikingly close to the road as well as the bike, but had found nothing. This can pretty much conclude that the corpse and the bike were placed later at those sites. It is also noted to be that 2 weeks after Kyllikki's disappearance, wood was planted in the area, but nothing suspicious was noted. Also, the body had already been decomposing when the stick impaled it. It is seriously disturbing to think that for so long, the killer was hiding the dead body in the evidence somewhere around the area, and was probably walking amongst the other residents of the small town of Isoyoki, only to try and bury them near the crime scene, after the investigation had lost its intimacy as he thought. Furthermore, the grave was well constructed, leading the experts to believe that the murderer had some experience in military engineering. The stick was sharpened with a classic Finnish knife, the puukko, by a left-handed person. Nothing more was ever found of her, other than her other shoe. Her watch, red purse, and hymn book were never recovered. Kyllikki Saari's memorial service was finally held on October 25th, 1953, with 25,000 attendants from many different places of Finland to wave her last goodbye. However, everyone's thoughts were clouded by one idea. This was Kyllikki's second burial. Her first one was far more sinister.